Good morning and welcome to Real Talk with Tamara. As you guys come into the room, please do hit the like button. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. I hope that you guys are doing okay on this afternoon. I know that I am. I always express the importance of hitting the like button because the like button helps to keep the video in the algorithm. Okay, so like, share, subscribe, comment, all of those wonderful things of the things. Okay, you guys, I wanted to talk about Yo Gotti plotting. Is Yo Gotti plotting to avenge his brother's death? And did he know who was trying to snake his brother? Okay. There's been a lot of stuff in the news as it relates to BIGJOOK's murder, of course. And of course it would, because his name was has been out there, since this situation with nationally, since YOUNGDOLPH's assassination. Of course, in the streets of Memphis, his name was always out there, right? Um, and people are wondering, of course, it is still fresh. I don't even think it may have been a week since this happened, and so people are speculating. I'm sure there are people that are out in the street of Memphis, and maybe some outside of Memphis, that has an involvement or know the people that did this. Because one thing for sure that we do know is that some people did do this, right? We don't know who, unless you know the people directly that did it or you were involved, right? Um, I think I spoke about I spoke with one of my friends, and it was like a day or so after. Um, and he says that he kind of passively said that some people came in from out of town, and for him to say that, it is probably because they feel like they have a credible informant or something like that that may have given them that information. They still have to investigate it, right? I haven't said anything else to him about that. I've talked to him, but we haven't talked about this, right? Um, and so, it makes people wonder, is Yo Gotti planning to avenge his brother's death? Yo Gotti and them have not said one word. I think Moneybag Yo just started back to posting on his page, and he's only been posting his weed, right? Yo Gotti has not posted. I don't think Angela hasn't posted. None of his immediate family, like his mom or any of them, have posted. And I think they're quiet for a reason. I'm sure that a funeral is being planned now. People started coming into my chat, and I don't know where they get this from, saying that nobody wanted to take Big Jook's body. Don't you know that Yo Gotti and them got money, funeral homes, but they don't give a damn about that. They fight over people's victims, or whoever, people's bodies that they know where their family has. They come out to the shooting scene, right, and try and encourage the family to let them be the ones to get the body. They go out to the hospitals and stand outside and everything. They don't care anything about that. There have been scenes that are more gruesome than what Big Jooks was, right? And you have funeral homes, is we where they know that it's gang related, where it don't really get a lot of attention in the news, and they still be fighting over bodies, right? So you already know that the funeral homes, all of the funeral homes around the Memphis area, even Millington was trying to get his body, because when they know that there's the family has a lot of money, or may speculate that the family has a lot of money, they can start trying to double the fees and things of that nature. Okay, so I had not heard that other than on the outside of Memphis, and it ain't true. If that's the case, the funeral home that has his body, right, would not have it. Okay, so I had people coming into my chat saying that, but I don't know where they got it from, and I don't feed into a whole lot of stuff like that. But plotting is Yo Gotti plotting to avenge his brother's death? Is he planning to avenge his death? Probably, you know, I was listening to Player Cole, okay? I was listening to Player Cole, and he came into no, he was on his own page. And of course, Cole grew up in North Memphis around Gotti and Jook them. He knew Jook very well. He was on speaking terms with Jook, right? They considered Jook, you know, he's from out of North Memphis, the big homie or whatever, the big homie. And so you know, so he know these guys. And so I heard him say on his channel that he had spoken to someone from within their camp, and the man says, whoever he spoke with says that Gotti had only turned his phone on one time, but when he did, of course, this was right after it happened. So I'm sure emotions were flying everywhere. People were in shock, the shock of it happening and all of that. And according to him, he says, you know, that this guy says that Yo Gotti was wanting some revenge, right? But did he know who was trying to snake his brother? You know, I think people when you know, people kind of look over a lot of the clues that have been put out there. The day before BIGJOOK was taken out, he had posted, rather than face me, you rather snake me. And he said something to the caliber of, look both ways or something, watch your back to stay alive. We put snakes on plates and eat grape. Well, I mean, it's obvious that he was talking to someone that he was familiar with. And people are talking about this paper route situation. Paper route wouldn't face him. They wouldn't, they're not in his camp. So what did he mean face him? Having, that would mean having conversations and stuff with him about something, but you'd rather snake me. No, this is somebody that he was familiar with, which is the reasons why I believe what the street dudes out in Memphis say, you know, that really got boots on the ground out in Memphis, that know the streets of Memphis, that's got their ear to the streets of Memphis, say that it was something else. It was some more beefing going on somewhere else. And when people do things of this nature, it's got to be some money involved. Right. So I tend to believe that. But did Yo Gotti, does Yo Gotti know who it was? I'm sure he knew about his brother's affairs. He and his brother was close. You know, when people talk about, well, you know, him and his brother fall out, I can't tell you how many times me and my sisters have argued and fist fought, you know, growing up, you know, scratching and stuff. Uh, um, but it don't mean that the relationship, it's just that we were catty with each other sometimes, right? But we were still close. Me and one of my sisters that has the same mother is closer than close, right? We're so close that she thinks that my daughters are hers. She always did. She forgets that I gave birth to them, right? So I think he and his brother, because they worked together, he worked within CMG with his brother, right? I do believe that he knew all of his affairs because they did all of their business together. He understood that his brother was the street person, and his brother, I feel like, put that on his page for a reason, you know, and you could tell something was going on because I think I when he put that up, he also put up a story. I think it had to, the stories always disappear because he also put that in his story, and then he had in his story right after that, one of God's chosen ones, right? And this was the day before he was taken out. So I believe he knew, you know, I believe he knew. You hear people that was from around his camp say that he had been going back and forth with some people, right? On texting and phone conversation. Of course, that will be able to be pulled. So maybe that is the reason why my friend said that passively about that situation from out of town, right? You know, so, you know, I don't know. You know, I would think that he's going to be quiet. He's not going to get on social media and say that he's avenging his brother's death. He probably will not even say anything about it, unless, um, he probably would just post a picture or something like that. But as I've said before, everybody wants to put Young Dolph's artists in the midst of this, because they want a bloodbath, because they don't, I be listening to people sometimes, and they always talking about their community, but they be trying to instigate a bloodbath, right? Sick. That's how they don't have issues with setting folks up, because they bloodthirsty. But the streets of Memphis, at the very most, is saying, if it as it relates to Dolph, that at the very most they're saying that it was karma, but you don't hear a whole lot of people saying that Young Dolph's artist did this. And just because you see them celebrating, I'm not saying that I agree with it. I don't like when people troll the dead. I didn't like when they did it, when they was doing it, when BIGJOOK and Black Youngster and them was doing it to Young Dolph, and I don't like it now, right? But what Young Dolph's artist was doing in the very beginning, they're not even doing it now. Key Glock never did it, because I watched them. But what they was doing, what was done to them. They sat quiet, just like Gotti and them are, and they was trolled, and the public talked about them, said they was scary because why they ain't saying nothing? Because they needed a story. They needed to be able to skin that story from side to side so they could eat. And they were not saying anything, because just like Yo Gotti and them, they were hurt, and they're still hurting about Young Dolph. Folks started saying that they were involved because they was not giving them story. Well, why they won't come out and say something to the public as if they owed them a story? Why they won't show us Young Dolph's death video? Because they was bloodthirsty. They wanted to see that so that they could share that and get views. Sick, right? Sick. And so, people started, they wanted the emotions to continuously flare. So folks started throwing out there in the blogs that Young Dolph's artists did this, because they understand, even if it wasn't Gotti, that people that was around Jook, that was in the streets, that cared about him, that wasn't involved in this, right? Emotions were still going high. And a lot of times, a lot of these vloggers have to be watched, because a lot of them are involved in a lot of criminal activities. And so when you start seeing these situations go on, with these unalivings of a lot of these people, sometimes they connected to the folks that did it, so they have to redirect the energy to somebody else, right? I'm sure the people that did this to Jook, they probably don't care for Young Dolph's artists. So they would pay their vloggers that's already on payroll to try and redirect the energy. That's the reason why you always hear me say folks will do anything for a damn dime. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. They ought to have some type of pride about what they do as a man and woman. Okay. But is Yo Gotti planning to avenge his brother's death? I don't know. Like I said, they've been very, very quiet. But according to Player Code, with someone he talked to that's in the inside of CMG, that's what he was on. But that was like a day after his brother died, so was killed. So I know emotions and stuff were flying high, right? Emotions were flying high. I'm sure a lot of it, they're starting to process a lot of it. Like I said, I don't wish this on anyone. Just because I called someone out for doing something wrong, and that's where our people need to understand. That's why I say our community is in a state of emergency, because I say, well, they was wrong for what they did to Young Dolph. You wish death on him. I ain't never wish death on him. You don't. Ooh. I'm not gonna let these folks run my pressure up today. Okay. Now it's holding people accountable. It's holding them accountable. Just because somebody holds you accountable and say you're wrong, that's not wishing death on you. That's forcing you to look at your actions. And that's something that's not happening in our community, because everybody is upholding wrong. That's why I love righteous men. I love righteous men, especially when they've been out on the street. They've been out in the street, and then they start redirecting their energy. They've been out on the street. I believe everything is always predestined. That's the reason why folks say, well, you real judgmental to folks. Nah, I have an issue with folks that continue and perpetuate um, 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 activities that they may have been doing 20, 30, and 40 years ago. You standing out on the street when you was 19. You ought to be ashamed if you still doing the same, standing on the same corner at 60. Okay. You don't have changed behavior. You're not taking what you learned early on and redirecting that energy and using it, right, to speak to a younger generation about what you went through, and this is how you was able to change your behavior and do better. See, I always say we supposed to, that's how it's supposed to be. We go through so that we can help the younger generations behind us, because it ain't really about us. Everything we go through ain't about us. It's about being able to have a testimony to be able to help the people that come behind us. That is how it has always been, until we got into a new era of everybody is selfish. They even selfish with their own damn kids. Well, I can't. I went through hell. I don't know how to do this and that. I can't tell you nothing. I'm just trying to live my life. They say that to their own children. Okay. But did he know who was trying to snake his brother? Because that's what his brother said. His brother said that someone was trying to snake him. A snake is somebody that slithers around you, that you are familiar with, and you probably do have done some type of business with. You know, that ain't happened with Paper Route. Paper Route was not slithering around him. It was obvious that they had no dealings. They had a hate for each other. So they was not going to face him to have a sit down with him. That would be somebody that is in your camp, rather they're in the inner circle or on the outer circle of your camp, right? Y'all excuse me, I still got a little head cold. Okay, so is he plotting to avenge his brother's death? If he know who it is, and he probably has an idea of who it is, and I'm willing to bet you he knows that it was not Young Dolph's artist. Just because they was doing what was done to them, they was celebrating and doing what was done to them. I don't agree with that, but they was really reciprocating what was done to them. So when people was saying, when it was happening to Young Dolph, and we were saying that's evil, to be celebrating his death, to be trolling Young Dolph and all that, the same street dudes said, well, and bloggers said, well, you know what, they were enemies, and so when we're enemies, we out in the street. When you enemies, that's what enemies do. So if these same street dudes were saying that, and same vloggers, why is it different now? Because that's what they said. Okay. But I'm hey, who's to say? Because we don't even know what they know, because they haven't said anything. Who is to say that they hadn't already avenged his death? I'm sure, with that being his brother and them being business partners, I'm sure he probably already knew who the beef was with. They got his phone. His next of kin would be his mother, because he wasn't married, right? Or his adult children. So I'm sure they've been able to go through his phone, and the police might have it. Even if they don't give the police their phone, they can pull every record that ever came through their phone. It's a murder investigation. They can subpoena the company and get every dime, get every bit of it. Even if their family don't want to turn the phone over, they don't need it physically. It's a murder investigation now, so they can do that. So we'll see. I'm sure he did know who was trying to snake his brother because they were business partners. So whoever it was that was trying, his brother was the muscle. So he always addressed the people, right? YOGOTTI was not going to. He didn't. That's what his brother did. So I'm sure he knew exactly who his brother was talking to, right? I'm sure he know. But anyways, you guys, I want you guys to please like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to support the channel, you could definitely support the channel via Cash App.